Well, hello. I'm so excited you guys are here for the Terry Cole Show Live. Hold on, I'm trying to move this a little bit. Wow, these lights are hot, you guys. Anyway, hello. I know you can see my mic, but I can't move it or you won't be able to hear me. Hi, welcome. So exciting. What are we chatting about today, Liz wants to know? We're talking about angry for no reason. So this week's blog that now goes live on Tuesdays, that is the topic. Do you ever walk around kind of just wanting to be pissed off or feeling like you're always on the verge of being annoyed or walking around very annoyable? That's what we're talking about. Sort of like the real reasons why and the things that you can do. So those of you who are just joining, please say hello as you come in. I'm very excited that you are joining us. I think that all of us go through a period of time in life where we might feel angry, right? But that's not what I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about where you're walking around where you feel like you're always pissed off. Sometimes it's a defense mechanism, then nobody bothers you, you know? Well, hello. Nice to see you guys. Hey, Dawn. Hey, Millie. I think that's your name. Welcome. Live chatting tonight. We're going to bang it out in 30 minutes. I took a bunch of questions that you guys left on the YouTube channel and things that came in for us as well. But as always, I'm super psyched to spontaneously talk about whatever you guys want to talk about as well. So I'm not hardcore attached to this. It's just that there were a lot of questions and I thought, isn't this the perfect time and place for us to hit the questions? I think it is. So welcome, say hello, tell me where you're coming in from as you come in, and then we'll get moving into the content. Well, hi, I think that's Summer. How you doing? I feel like it's another day where you are, Summer, isn't it? Hello, Iris. Oh, hi, Australia's in the house. Right on. All right, I gotta move this over so I can see more of what you're saying. All right, what do we got? All right. So Sally is saying, just want to say the angry for no reason video helped me today in acknowledging that I wasn't annoyed at work, but pissed off. I won't minimize my anger anymore. Right on, Sally. I like it. I feel like there's also some misunderstanding. Some people were like, I'm not angry for no reason. I've got good reasons. I'm like, yeah, that's not, did you watch the video though? That's not what it's about. I'm not saying you don't have good reasons. I'm saying a lot of times we don't even know what we're mad at. And that's what it's about. If we're using it, displacing aggression, if we're basically having a transference, which happens too, we'll talk about that. Well, hi from Orlando. Hello, Brian from Georgia. We got Jen from Wisconsin. Last says that anger is a great topic. I'm glad you like it. I do too. I find that most of my therapy clients have problems with it. Nicole from Scotland. Well, hello. How are you? Some say that anger is actually fear. Can you explain? Oh, I definitely can. Tracy, grab that for me, would ya? Because it's actually one of the things that I talk about in the blog this week. But there's so much more to say about transmuting one emotion into a less threatening emotion, right? So yeah, we're gonna hit that. Well, hi, Paris from Cali. How you doing? We got St. Louis in the house and Lindsay too. Hi, Winnie. Hold on. Who else we got? Yo, Brian from Utah. I don't know why Utah sucks and makes you angry. I'm not sure why. Hello from Honduras. Hola, ¿cómo está? Your video about narcissism has helped me a lot and has helped me to heal. Thank you. Well, you are so welcome. I love that you guys are joining me on what is tonight? Thursday night. I do appreciate you taking time out of your life just to hang out and hopefully learn something that will add value to the quality of your life, because as you know, that is what I care about. I want you to have more flow, more joy, more ease. And when we're not understanding the emotions that we're feeling, it's really hard to have flow and ease. Because literally we're pissed off and don't know why. And I'm not saying you don't have reasons why, but it's so important that we figure out when we're feeling annoyed that we have steps that we can take to understand what the hell is going on. So let's move into some cues. Well, hi, Mystic Manifestation. How you doing? Yes, John says yes to more flow. That's really when you're talking about mental health, you guys, because that is what I'm talking about. And as much as I'm in this empowerment space, those of you who know my work know that it's not magic, it's psychology, right? That's one of my taglines. Why is that? Because it's true. And that, as the name of my girlfriend, Marie Forleo, has a new book out called Everything is Figure Outable. I feel that way about becoming mentally healthy. When you understand the things that are driving your behavior, then everything becomes figure outable. When you're blocked, when you don't understand how the past, your childhood, your family of origin, what you experienced, when you don't understand how that is impacting your life right now, then everything is not figure outable, because you end up at this impasse where you're like, I don't know, this shit keeps happening and I don't even know why. So that's why everything we talk about has to do with awareness, self-knowledge, right? I came up with the 5 pillars of self-mastery based on 22 years as a psychotherapist. What are those pillars? Self-awareness. We move into self-knowledge. The third one is self-acceptance, because we can't change anything if we're in denial of that thing. We move into self-compassion. And the last one is self-mastery, which includes self-love and self-celebration. So I just got all passionate about that, but I want you guys to have what you want in life. And I know that it's possible. You know, I've seen it. I've helped thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people now with the platform. And it just makes me so happy. You guys are it for me, as you know. So let's move in. Oh, look. Hi. Hey. Who else is here? Hey, Jessica. What's up, Tracy? All right. Well, hi, all. Welcome. Whitney said, been learning more about trauma bonds due to the recent experiences. Someone is being done to can you have a baseline of anger even when things are okay and they're not being provoked? Well, sure. And that's also with post-traumatic stress and all of those types of things, which I actually don't handle in this because I wasn't specifically talking about that in this week's vlog. But yes, there is definitely a truth to, if you're a trauma survivor, you'll have a lot of experiences, internal experiences that you're like, what the hell and why? But through the process, if you're working with a trauma expert, you'll be able to get through it. Okay, so I'm going to hit the questions we already have, and I've got Tracy on Team TC here. She'll be grabbing some questions too. So let's move into. All right. So someone wrote in about crying when they're angry and wanting to understand, like it makes them even more mad when they have an experience where they're pissed off, but instead of expressing their pissed offness, they actually cry. So now they're so mad because now the person they're pissed off at is seeing them crying, is what she was saying. So what can she do? Well, first of all, you have to get really familiar with your own anger. So you'll do like an anger inventory, right? Where you really think about what are the things on a daily basis that make you mad, that get on your nerves. Because here's the thing, crying when you're mad, and I know I used to be the queen of this when I was younger. And let's talk a little bit about how this can come to be. Why might we be like this? Well, I was like this because I was raised in a family where you weren't allowed to be angry. So a kind of a waspy family. I don't know if maybe only people in the States know what that means, but it's a sort of a buttoned up type of a family where you wouldn't talk about anything that would be considered crass, or really my parents just didn't have the skills to manage anger. So they didn't, and it was very much discouraged. So now, as many of you know, anger is one of the 6 human emotions, meaning we all have them. What happens when we're taught to basically disavow one of the emotions when we're taught to say anger is bad. Well, you can't stop being angry, right? I can tell you what doesn't happen. The anger doesn't disappear. It actually just sort of we transmute it into something else because we have to release it. So for me, I would transmute it into sadness. And for a lot of times it would turn into more of like a depressed mood or feeling low or crying instead of being able to actually say what I wanted to say. And so I had to unlearn all of that repression, right? That's what that is. We're repressing an emotion. And then I needed to learn healthy expressions of anger. So in my 20s, I was able to say, well, I was angry at you, or I was annoyed. See, we also use code words. If we're afraid to be angry, then we say, I had a client who, and actually a friend who used to always say they weren't the same person. P.S. A client over here, a different person who was a friend, who would misuse the word annoyed, which talk about being annoying. It made me it made me crazy. She would be raging mad, like raging mad. And then she would say, I'm really annoyed. I'm like, you're not annoyed. You have like smoke coming out of your ears. Why are you talking in code? You're furious. How would it feel if you just said, I'm effing furious? How about that? I guess that would probably feel better because it would actually be accurate. So think about the ways that we're making our anger smaller. We're making it something else if we're not comfortable with anger. So back to the question of, well, what do I do? You have to get familiar with your anger. You have to be intimate. You have to understand why. So we'll move into some of the fixes around if you have a weird relationship to anger, whether you're overly angry or whether you're afraid to be angry. And all of these can influence be walking around in a low-key sort of low vibe annoyance all the time or anger all the time. So look at the behavior. What was modeled for you, right? What was modeled for me was nothing that made me learn how to express my anger. Basically that to be feminine, to be a real woman, I would always be composed. I would always have control of my feelings. Well, that's not healthy because you can't always be composed. Shit happens, right? Sometimes we lose our temper. That's normal. Not if you do it all the time, 7 times a day, but I mean, it's normal. So I had to relearn that on my own. So what I'm going to ask you right now, all of you who are here, is to think about what you learned about anger from the home that you grew up in, regardless of who raised you, because it doesn't matter. It could be parents, step-parents, grandparents, foster home, anywhere. Somebody modeled behavior for you. So did you learn, was there one person in your family who was pretty angry and everyone else like sort of organized around them? Don't make mom mad. Don't make dad mad. It was really my father in my house, even though he didn't walk around angry, but we were terrified of him anyway, all the time. So he didn't even have to be mad for us to be afraid of him because my mother was afraid of him, I learned to stuff it down, says Lulu B. I learned to stuff it down for a long time and then one day explode. Right, that was the model. Exactly. You become a powder keg, like TNT, you're like dynamite. It's fine until it's super not fine and you lose your mind. And a lot of times when you explode, you'll say things that you don't mean. And that had you said them 2 years ago, they would have just come out like, hey, I'd rather you do this than that. You wait 2 years, let something bother you that long, and then you can lose your mind. Not angry, but disappointed. No outlet to channel it to. So took it out on things that made me doubt myself. Well, I understand that. Because anytime our emotions are coming out sideways, basically, because we haven't learned how to let them come out directly, it's not that helpful to our mental health, right? All right, moving on. Anger meant immediate violence in my house growing up. So I stuffed it and never expressed it. My mother was the angry one. Now I emotionally shut down if I get upset. Melly, that's a very normal response, especially with violence in a home. It's like, there's something that when we feel threatened, like in a really primal way, they talk about fight, flight, freeze. So the shutting down is basically the way to stay safe from impending violence, which I do not blame you. And I'm sorry that was your experience, because that sucks. But we can't do that forever, and hopefully you're not attracting violent people now. So learning to understand your anger will be helpful. Sally says, I threw temper tantrums all the time when I was a kid, probably until I was like 9. I didn't know how to express my anger without screaming at someone. That's so interesting, Sally, because that would never have been tolerated in my house, even though there was no corporal punishment or physical violence. It was so frowned upon that was enough for me to not do it. You know what I mean? So I do understand, though, that if they don't teach you, then how do you know? All right. So both my parents were pissed off 24/7, usually compounded with violence. Ugh, I am sorry to hear that. And it's really hard being around people who are angry all the time, because there's a lot of energy that comes from people who walk around angry. And there's always this desire, as the other person was saying, about basically protecting yourself, like always walking on eggshells, don't want to upset the apple cart. But wow, that's no way to live. Exactly. Yes, she said, so much unnecessary drama. Totally. I learned what not to do. What was modeled for me. The adults in my house displayed anger whenever something didn't go how they wanted it to. And you're like, come on, just grow up, stop. I mean, it's fine to have a good relationship with your anger, but that's like a dysfunctional relationship to anger, So anyway, the first place we look, one of the first places, is you have to awareness. We need to take an inventory of how are we walking around in the world. So you can take an inventory of your anger. What are you angry at that you're not talking about? Or what are you annoyed at? Or what do you let annoy you? Because this is another thing that I was thinking about the other day. I was having this interaction with my husband where he makes oatmeal every day and I don't eat it because I'm on keto. So, and he always asks me, I'm always like, hi, since last October, I'm still on keto, so no thanks. But anyway, so he leaves out the 2 measuring things. It's not a big deal. But finally, I said to him, but every day when I saw it, I would say to myself out loud, he wasn't there. I'd be like, and of course, the measuring shit is on the counter. Why? Just fucking put it away. Like, literally, this is what I'm saying. And finally, 2 days ago, I was like, babe, can you just please put that stuff away when you're done with it? He's like, sure. That was it. Oh, guess what? I'm not going to walk around every morning. And it's compounding the frustration. It isn't just like, here's one layer. When you let things build up, and there was no reason why I wasn't telling him. He just wasn't in the house when I was noticing it. And then finally 2 days ago, he was. And I was like, hey, clean or dirty, put it where it goes. Like, why every day by 6 o'clock, I'm still looking at your oatmeal measurer? I don't want to. But it's not like a huge big deal, right? Not a huge big deal. But I got to say, if you allow these small things to build up, what ends up happening is you start to build disdain. Disdain where you think about the other person and you're like, ugh, like you just want to roll your eyes. And according to John Gottman, who is the originator, the creator, the scientist behind the Love Lab that's been around for 45 years, just analyzing, doing scientific stuff about love. That's one of the 4, what they call them, the 4 horsemen of like the end of your relationship. If you have a lot of disdain, if you're rolling your eyes, if there's that lack of respect that you have in a relationship. And so you want to sort of figure out how not to do that. And speaking up before you are a volcano about to erupt is really helpful. That is a really good way of doing it. So 2 things we looked at. We looked at taking an inventory of either resentments you haven't done anything with, or and then you're going to look at how is it familiar? What behavior was modeled? What was your parents' or caregivers' relationship to anger, to understand how you relate to it? And obviously, if we want to say what is healthy anger, well, healthy anger is expressing it when you feel it in a way that is appropriate. So I do say there's a certain amount of control that is required for healthy anger, right? Exploding on someone is pretty much never going to make them want to have a deep conversation or talk. And for some couples, they just fight. This is what was modeled for them. It's what they do. They fight, they make up, they have sex. But really, but is that really satisfying? Is that really as deep as we want to go in our relationships? I'm going to say no. No, I don't think so. All right, hold on. We have other things that are coming in. So if you're looking at the modeled behavior to kind of get some information or to get clarity on your own relationship to anger, how did your family feel about anger? Was it like mine? You weren't allowed, or were you allowed? How did they express anger, or didn't they? Was there overt anger, yelling, screaming, slamming doors? Was there covert anger, passive-aggressive behavior, eye-rolling, heavy sighing, right? Those are all different ways. Unspoken agreements, like in my home, of like, we're just not talking about anything that is difficult or messy, okay? Okay, well, I was only a kid, so I didn't mean to agree to it, but I guess I did. Also looking at the greater culture of where you live. So even in the United States, if you live in the South, it's much less cool to, especially for women, to be direct about anger. So there's this passive aggressive language. It's a whole way of communicating, like a secret language, where if they want to say someone's an idiot, they'll be like, bless his heart. So if anyone ever, you're in the South, the United States, and they say, bless your heart, they're really saying this pretty much, probably, which I could never, I don't know. That's so confusing. I find anger confusing enough to live in a greater culture. So I like the Northeast. I love New York City, because my feeling is if someone is going to be giving you the finger, they'll do it directly to you, right? They won't say, why don't we have lunch? When you don't like them and they don't like you. I don't like covert expression of this stuff, because it's so it's confusing. I'm like, how do you know how to respond, right? All right. And then the last thing I would say about that is, how would you describe your own anger? I just put a post up today on Instagram, basically saying, with your anger, are you friends with it? Are you total strangers? Are you frenemies? Are you acquaintances? Are you intimate? Are you pals? Like, really figuring out what is your relationship to it. Oh, hey, you're so cute. You're giving me a little thumbs up. You're so nice, you guys. Thank you. Very nice. Anyway, moving on. The next thing about anger is about displaced anger. So do we understand what this is? Yeah. Yeah. So displaced anger. Yeah, there's a lot of cultures that have the passive aggressive anger. There certainly are. So do you know what displaced anger is? It is where you're pissed off about one thing, but you take it out somewhere else. Exactly. That is right, Melly. So why do we not want to do that? Well, because it's unfair to the person who didn't do anything. Correct? Yes. But it also doesn't, it's a really shit way to problem solve, because how can you solve a problem if you're not telling the truth to the person that you are having the issue with, right? Right. So how do you know if you're doing it? Well, if your reaction, your response to something is really hot, really fast, where you're like, can't even stop yourself. I had a situation happen recently where I was surprised, because usually I am pretty much in control of myself, you know. And some woman was asking something of my husband, and she was fine. We were on something, and normally I just let him do his thing, you know. But people always ask him to do things that I know he can't do, is not going to have time to do, doesn't want to do, like draw a whole picture of their family. People don't have any idea what an artist actually does if they're a working artist. And they're like, I really want you to do my family. I'm like, do you have 15 grand? Because that's what it's going to cost anyway. But I stepped in and just said something, and it was really kind of not nice. I was like, wait, did you just ask him to do something? Because did you tell her that you're busy until like 2022? And he was like, yeah, no, I mean, yeah. I was like, okay. Did he tell you that? She's like, no, but okay, well, fine. So anyway, my point is, I would have liked to have handled that better, differently, not explosive, but I didn't. So, and I was going to apologize. Then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to, because she didn't seem offended. I still spent a bunch of days with her. It was fine. Yeah. And he wasn't mad, so I let it go. But that kind of was a displaced aggression because I was actually frustrated about something else. If I hadn't been, I don't think I would have been so hot so fast in that scenario. Make sense? I was trying to give you an example, and I'm not sure I did a great job, but it is symptomatic of not befriending your anger. Yes, it is. You said, is it? But that is true. If we can't be in acceptance of our anger, look at it, understand it, and I also question it. I always, listen, you're 50% of everything that goes on in your life, every relationship, every interaction, because unless there's well, don't take that over. Unless there's some kind of you're in like a hurricane. I'm not talking about things that you don't have control over, but in our relationships, even our work relationships, you're 50%. And so you really have to look at your side of the street as much as you possibly can. And I'm not saying blame yourself. I'm saying get clear, because if you're not clear, you might be having displaced aggression, right? So I got some questions that are coming in. All right. Mesma says, what's the best way to respond to an angry person? Well, definitely not telling them to calm down, because that doesn't make anyone calm. I think it depends on how angry they are and how they're expressing it. If they're expressing their anger appropriately, I would listen to them myself, right? If it's someone I care about. If it's an angry cab driver or driver in New York City who's like screaming, I would not. So it really depends on the person. If I'm in a relationship with someone and they're angry, no way in hell am I having a conversation with them being super pissed. That's just me, because I have a super low threshold, low tolerance for that kind of interaction. So in that case, I would say, hey, let's take a break. I do want to hear what you have to say, but I really need it to be calmer. We got to cool off, and then we'll come back. That might make someone more mad, but I don't really care, because I'm not subjecting myself to someone's brutal anger, So it depends on how angry they are. How can I give feedback to someone that I believe is building anger towards me without making them feel defensive? Well, listen, we have no control over how what we say or do makes another person feel. If you want to give feedback, I would ask a question rather than give feedback. I would say, I'm sensing something. Is everything okay between us? I'm sensing kind of an angry vibe from you. Are you angry about something? If they get defensive, then you can say, okay, well, I care about our friendship, our relationship, our work relationship, whatever it is. So if there is anything, I'm always open to talk about it. Thanks for listening. And just leave it at that, right? If people are going to be defensive, even no matter how you do it, you might do it great. You might say the exact right words. And people, if they don't like confrontation, might be defensive no matter what you do, because defensiveness is a symptom of a zillion other things that have nothing to do with you, but have to do with their life. You know what I mean? All right, let me see. Hold on. I have a question. What's a good plan for escaping narc parents in a country such as the Middle East? I don't know if we have time for that one with a minute left, but I will try to hit it. Listen, even if you can't leave them, you can create boundaries inside. So part of it is creating boundaries inside. If you have narcissistic parents, don't tell them anything that's important to you. Don't tell them anything that's real about your life, because if they're really narcs, they will use it against you, which you know. And if it's toxic and actually abusive, then slowly but surely plot, your escape. Now, I don't know enough about what country you live in to know what options there are, if any. But maybe go to another country if that's possible. I mean, I know that's hard, but I don't know if you live in a culture where you would even be allowed to move out. But that would be get as far away as possible, put distance, and if you can't physically move, emotionally distance yourself from any abusive narc, you know? Okay. I think I'm going to have to hit it because here we go. I'm going to do one more and then we're going to be done, which says, why do people insult each other when deep down they want to be nice? Is it repressed feelings? Well, I'm not sure if people who are insulting each other deep down want to be nice, right? There's something you have to look at. What are they gaining from being not nice? They're gaining distance, right? They're gaining, a lot of times people have a fear of intimacy, so they're pushing other people away. Sometimes I think it's repressed, right? So if it's displaced aggression, then that is not repressed anger, but it's displaced anger. And I think that can definitely be something that happens. And for some people, being nice is scary because what they've learned is to protect themselves by being rough, by being pokey, by being kind of mean. That's how they go through the world and how they feel safe, you know? This was so much fun, you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for the thumbs up. I appreciate it. And I think YouTube likes it. So if you haven't done it, do it, would you? I'm going to be here again next month. We've got really exciting things coming up. For those of you who don't know, I'm doing, and you want to hang out with me live in person, for the ladies on the YouTube live in September, I'm going to do a live thing in the Northeast. So it's at Kripalu, which is a yoga center for women. So if you're into that and you're close by, come on and join us. All of Team TC, the women are going to be with me too. So there'll be a bunch of us there. That's September 13th to the 15th. And we're going to be starting on the 7th, I believe, of August. We're starting Wednesday Wisdom again. So that is live on my business page for men or women, and live in the Real Love Revolution Facebook group. That's just for women. But I'm going to start it on the business page so that anyone on the business page will be able to see what it is that we're doing. So Wednesday Wisdom, we're going to start talking about effective communication, becoming empowered in your relationships, and my favorite topic and yours, boundaries. Right on. To be continued, you guys. Thank you for joining me. And thanks, Tracy, for being here. All right, I'm going to end the stream, and I'll see you next month, and I'll see you all over my social. Bye.